Hi team, and welcome back to another Kofifernweh's pit stop, sponsored by Three-Legged Thing and Toxic Camera Bags. I'm Dave Williams and this is Swedish Lapland. Today I want to talk to you about exposure and white balance and why it's so important to think about those things when we're shooting in the snow. It is currently -12. I'm going to keep this short and snappy and straight to the point, which means maximum fast learning for you guys. So our camera has a meter, and the meter tells us the exposure, or the exposure it thinks we should be shooting at. So it looks at what's over, what's under, and measures the light in the scene to give us the perfect exposure. Now when we're shooting in the snow, we've got all this white glaring at the camera, and what it does is it tricks that sensor and that meter into thinking that the scene is much brighter than it actually is, and therefore if we use the meter in our camera, it's going to be darker because it thinks it's so bright. The resulting picture is going to be too dark. So firstly, when we're shooting in the snow, we're thinking about our exposure. When we look at our metering for all this snow, we need to shoot a stop over what the meter is actually telling us we should be shooting at, so that we get the right exposure. But then we need to look at the white balance as well. When we shoot and we're shooting raw, we can shoot in any white balance. It doesn't really matter what it is because we can go ahead and fix it in Adobe Photoshop afterwards. But when you do that and you bring the file into Photoshop and you're ready to check the white balance, my best tip is to hit I for the eyedropper tool and click on a bit of snow. It will balance the white balance of the whole scene, but it might get it wrong. So click on a different bit of snow, perhaps a bit in the shade, or perhaps a bit that's hit by the sun, and it will set the white balance, and then you can make fine adjustments from there. But think about this. Do we want to be correct? Do we want the correct white balance? We're not shooting a picture for a science textbook. We're artists. So when we shoot and we look at the white balance in our photographs, we need to think about the creative license and apply it. Perhaps the white balance in our scene will be a bit too blue or a bit too orange. But what's wrong with that? If we're shooting as creatives, as photographers, as artists, then the white balance can be wrong, because who says it's wrong? Maybe the wrong is actually right. Guys, that is it for this week's quick pit stop on white balance and exposure when shooting in the snow. From Swedish Lapland, sponsored by Three-Legged Thing and Toxic, I am Dave Williams. See you next week.